The desert wind howled outside the base, carrying with it the faint smell of dust and metal. Inside, everything felt still. The hum of machines was quieter now, as if the base itself was holding its breath. Ava Ellis, the once dismissed consultant, walked through the hallways, her mind focused on the next steps. She had done what no one else could. She had fixed the unfixable. But the game had changed. The power shift was undeniable, and with it came a new kind of pressure. The same men who had once mocked her now watched her every move, unsure of what she would do next. As she walked past the command center, she couldn't shake the feeling that Holden's threats weren't empty. She had heard it in his voice, the raw edge of someone who had just lost everything. He would come for her, not with guns or orders, but with the subtle tactics of a man used to controlling people. Ava had seen this kind of man before. He didn't know when to quit, and he wouldn't let her walk away unscathed. General Thomas Holden sat at his desk, his hands resting on a series of papers he hadn't looked at in hours. His mind was elsewhere, on the woman who had taken everything from him in a matter of days. Ava Ellis. The name stuck in his mind like a splinter. He should have been the one to fix this program. He should have been the one to solve it. But it wasn't his victory, it was hers. And that was what gnawed at him. The door to his office creaked open, and a young officer stepped inside, saluting sharply. Lieutenant Jameson, quietly. General, the Pentagon just called. They've decided to accelerate the timeline. They want a full demonstration of the new program next week. General Holden, sighing, rubbing his temples. Next week? That's impossible. We're still patching the holes. Lieutenant Jameson, sternly. They don't care. They're already breathing down our necks. And you know what that means, sir. Holden's eyes narrowed. The Pentagon wasn't patient. They didn't understand the pressure they were under. They just wanted results. Results that, for the first time in his career, weren't guaranteed. General Holden, fuming. I know what it means. Get out of my office. No, I need to think. The lieutenant quickly left, the door slamming shut behind him. Holden was left alone with his thoughts. His career, his legacy, was on the line. And the one person who could sabotage it all wasn't even trying. Ava Ellis wasn't just a consultant anymore. She was a force. And that force needed to be contained. Ava stepped outside into the crisp desert air. She could hear the distant rumble of a convoy, the base alive with activity, but it all felt distant to her now. Her mind was focused on what came next. She had made her mark. She had won. But she knew the battle wasn't over. It was only beginning. As she walked toward the edge of the base, she felt a presence behind her. She turned, and there stood Lieutenant Kai Jensen, his face tense but respectful. His once cocky demeanor was now tempered with the weight of their shared experience. Lieutenant Kai Jensen, softly. Corporal Ellis. I just wanted to say thank you. You saved the program. You saved all of us. Ava didn't say anything at first. She simply studied him, the young man who had been so sure of his place in this world. Now he stood before her, humbled. It was a moment that felt almost surreal. Corporal Ava Ellis, coldly. You're welcome. But don't mistake this for a favor. I did what I had to do. Don't expect me to start taking orders from you. Jensen's expression faltered, but he nodded. I get it, he said quietly. I never thought someone like you would have it in you. Ava's eyes darkened. You think this is a joke? You think because I'm not a soldier in your eyes that I can't do what you can't? She stepped closer to him, her voice steady, but cutting through the tension like a knife. You don't get it, Jensen. You don't know what I've been through to get here. But I'm not here for your praise. I'm here to finish what I started. She turned and walked away, leaving him standing in the night, his thoughts tangled in the weight of her words. The next day, the air in the command center was thick with nervous energy. Holden paced the floor, his face set in a grim mask. His hands trembled slightly as he gripped a cup of coffee, the realization that he was on borrowed time eating away at him. The mission needed to succeed. He needed it to succeed. But Ava was right. He had treated the program as something to control. He had failed to see the bigger picture. And now the Pentagon had come calling, demanding results in less than a week. Ava Ellis had given him a way forward, but it was one he wasn't sure he could follow. Her success wasn't about brute force or manipulation, it was about trust. Something Holden had never been good at. And now he was paying the price. The door to the command center slammed open and Lieutenant Jameson entered. His expression was tight, his posture rigid. Lieutenant Jameson, breathless. General, we've got a situation. The new consultant, they've called in reinforcements. They've brought in someone from Project Valkyrie. Holden stopped in his tracks. Project Valkyrie? His voice was hoarse. He knew what that meant. Project Valkyrie was an elite program, one of the most secretive, one of the deadliest. It was filled with operatives trained to handle situations no one else could. Who did they bring in? Lieutenant Jameson, sternly, "We don't know yet, sir. But they're expecting a full-scale review of the program. They want results and they want them now." Holden's face darkened. His mind raced. This wasn't just a mission anymore. This was about power. About control. And it was slipping through his fingers. The command center was now packed with higher-ranking officers, Pentagon representatives, and an ominous new presence. The air was thick with tension as the new consultant walked into the room. It was a woman. Tall, strong, and purposeful in her movements. Holden didn't need to look twice to see that she was different. There was something in the way she carried herself that spoke of combat experience far beyond the classroom. She wasn't just an expert, she was someone who had lived through hell. And she wasn't here to mess around. New consultant, voice cold, direct. "General Holden. I'm here to assess your program. The Pentagon doesn't take kindly to failures, especially after the last few missteps." Holden's face hardened. He knew this wasn't just a consultant. This was someone with power. Someone who could take him down if she wanted to. He didn't say anything. He just watched as she moved to the console, her fingers moving swiftly over the touchpad. The room fell silent as the simulation began again. But this time the drones didn't just perform, they thrived. The program was back on track, running smoother than ever before. But Holden wasn't celebrating. He wasn't relieved. His focus was on the new consultant, who now stood, arms crossed, watching him with an air of quiet superiority. New consultant, voice soft but cutting. "General, do you see now? You weren't the one who saved this program. It wasn't your arrogance or your need to control. It was trust. Trust in the system. In the people you were too proud to listen to." Holden's chest tightened. He couldn't respond. He knew she was right. This wasn't his victory. It was hers. And now he had to live with the consequences of his own actions. The night was silent except for the rustling of the desert wind. Ava stood at the base's edge, her hands resting at her sides. She had done what she came to do. But she knew this wasn't over. Holden was too dangerous. He wouldn't stop until he had control again. And when a man like him was backed into a corner, there was no telling how far he would go. The sound of footsteps behind her made her turn. She expected Holden, but it wasn't him. It was Lieutenant Kai Jensen again, this time with a different expression, a mix of awe and respect. Lieutenant Kai Jensen quietly, I know I've underestimated you. I just wanted to say, I respect you for what you've done." Ava looked at him, her face unreadable. She didn't respond immediately, but after a beat, she spoke. "Corporal Ava Ellis, softly, respect isn't something you give. It's something you earn. And don't forget, there's still a lot to be done." Jensen nodded, understanding the weight of her words. Ava had changed everything, but the war wasn't over yet. As she turned to walk away, a shadow fell over her. The battle for control, her battle, had just begun. Will Holden continue his pursuit of control, or will Ava's lessons stay with him? Who is the new consultant from Project Valkyrie, and what role will they play in the upcoming power struggle? What does Ava's past hold, and how will it affect her future in this high-stakes game? Stay tuned for Part 3. The war is just getting started.